When to launch? This is a difficult question. In general, I would suggest that you avoid big holidays as the starting, middle, and end dates of your campaign. Of course, what's difficult here is that if you have an international audience, your holidays might not be their holidays. So you need to make some kind of guess which calendar you want to refer to. For example, Thanksgiving is not celebrated in Europe. So those two dates work in a very different way between US and Europe. And there's plenty of others depending on who is your main audience. So what are the reasons to avoid holidays? You need to be sure that people are in front of the screen. I know that it seems counterintuitive, that you might think that it's better to try to get people when they have some free time. But in reality, most of the backing happens when they are in front of a computer for work. Instead of working, people want to find something else to do. And if you can get them during office hours, it's usually easier for many to actually back. Of course, this is not the case for every kind of worker. If they work in a factory, probably they can't back your campaign, or if they work in a restaurant, they can back your campaign. But if they're in an office and they're getting bored and they need to kind of take their mind off work for a moment, they might decide to spend those 5 minutes to back your campaign. Also, holidays are a money sink, and their budget might be already limited because maybe they already spend money on gifts for other people or for themselves. So you run the risk of running a campaign when people cannot afford to back it. Depending on the region where you're based and the region you are marketing to, July or August can be slow months. For example, south of Europe is in holiday in August. The north, center and north of Europe is in holiday in July. I'm not familiar when people in other part of the world take their holidays. That probably depends. Even if they're in Australia, they probably have holidays in December. And so you need to kind of know exactly what is your main audience and when they go to holiday. Also, in December in general, people have less budget available because of Christmas, which is not a universal holiday, but it's pretty common, and even people that are not religious at all, they usually celebrate Christmas. And in the last couple of years, 2020, 2021, February has been a peak competition month because there's been an initiative on Kickstarter called ZinQuest, and you can see easily 200, 300 projects just in that month. And they're not all good, actually very few are good, but the problem is that they will bury your project under this avalanche of small Zine projects. I don't know if this will continue, but Kickstarter has a specific section just for that. So I think it's kind of established now, and they will keep doing it. I don't know if the month will remain February in the future, but you kind of need to know, especially if you have a tabletop RPG, that February has been a bad month for that because there's just too much stuff. It's really hard even to track what's happening. Like every day there are 10, 15 new projects. It's really hard to know what's going on. Other than that, pretty much you can make every month work. So try to figure out when it's good for you. You will need to focus on this thing. So try to get some month where you don't have other commitments. One thing I recommend is that you do not announce the launch date until you are 110% sure of everything. And you can announce the launch date of your campaign maybe 2 weeks earlier before launching. You can tease that the campaign is coming. You can warm up people that there is something happening very soon, that the campaign is coming. But the exact date, wait until the very last moment, because there's no advantage in telling it earlier. there's no advantage at all. If you are not ready by the time you kind of announce it, then you have to postpone it, and then everybody gets confused about that. So one thing that creators have a bit of a hard time understanding is that nobody's really waiting for your campaign until you give them the date. The moment you give them the date, then they look at the calendar and they remember the date. That's why you don't want to move it if possible. And also, the work you do before is just to remind them that this thing is coming soonish, right? But the moment you give them the date, then they know. Make sure that everything is ready in the campaign before announcing the date. This means the bureaucracy. Your campaign needs to be approved. All the assets that you need for the launch day and the day after the campaign need to be prepared. Most of them, actually, some you will have to do on the fly, but most of them need to be ready because you won't have time to do them, especially the first few days. So you just need to have them ready. All the texts, maybe the first couple of updates. You made the calculation so you know exactly how much do you need to recoup your investment. You got some feedback on the campaign, so it is already the best it could be. And then, yeah, as I mentioned, you have some plans for the updates. Usually, I tend to write at least the first 2 or 3 because I kind of already know what's going to happen in the first hours if I did my job properly. So you can kind of create 90% of them ready, and then you just change some details where needed. The favorite days for launching, my favorite day actually is Tuesday, but then Wednesday and Thursday are a good alternative, especially Thursday. I would avoid weekends because again, you might think people have more time to look at this thing during weekends. It turns out that the activity of people online during weekends is significantly lower than during the week. This is difficult to forecast, but one thing you can think about is that if I launch on this date, do most of my backers have just received a salary? This is especially difficult to calculate because in some countries the salary comes once a month, in some countries it comes once a week, and for all the freelancers it comes when it comes. So this is just a general call you should do, and it's something you need to take into consideration. It's not crucial, but if you can kind of figure out a general day where most of your audience probably receive their money, that's better. Because if it's towards the end of the cycle, then maybe they don't have money to invest in your campaign, and if they just receive their salary, they might be more willing to invest some in your game. So the best international launch time is 8 a.m. Pacific time. I would clear the schedule for the next 12 hours. Then again, it depends when 8 a.m. PT is where you are based. For example, for me, if I am correct, it's 6 p.m. in the afternoon. So I can't really clear the next 12 hours because at some point I will have to go to sleep. But that is a good time in a way that I can get most of my audience when the campaign launches. I have a few hours, probably until midnight, and then I will have to go to sleep and wake up early in the morning and start over. But yeah, this is strongly dependent on where you're based, but I would recommend that you go as close as possible to 8 a.m. Pacific time. How long should your campaign be? As I mentioned before, not all the campaigns should be a month long, because you need to think, can I really keep things interesting for a month? A month is a long time. You have to commit a significant chunk of your life to this thing. It's gonna be several hours a day the first few days, and then some hours per day in the middle, and then again several hours a day towards the end. So Also, do you have enough material to share for a month? I like to make updates very often. I do them almost every day. It takes a lot of time to prepare them, and you need to have things to say. I don't like that because I tend to be to write quite a lot, and well, I can come up with ideas. But for some projects, it might not be ideal to have something every day, or you just don't have enough material to share, right? So pretty much, what are you gonna do after this campaign has launched? Try to think about that, and then if you think, well, I don't really have material to fill 20 updates. So maybe you want to keep the campaign a bit shorter or send a bit less updates. So if it's your first time, I think it's reasonable to try with the 34 to 30 days. It's a long time. It's a long time, but if you make some crucial mistake, it's enough time for you to fix it. It's enough time for you to write emails, try to get some people on board, try to get in touch with someone who didn't cover you yet, etc. You will have a big chunk of this time which is kind of idle in the middle, but also you don't have to work day and night to make sure this succeeds, because you have a bit of padding there and some extra time to fix the problems. If it's not your first time, then go with 28 days or less. Nowadays I tend to do 21, 22 days, depending on the day of the week where the last day falls. You kind of know what to expect, and that is a good time, because then you can have a very strong first week, then a bit of a break in between, and then a very strong last week. That's a combination that I like. And then, well, if you have a very solid fan base and you are absolutely sure that this will found like crazy, because you have data from previous campaigns, from previous experiences, from previous projects you've done, that you have people behind you ready to throw money at you, then you can do less than 21 days. But I've seen this going very wrong, because people had the wrong expectation. They thought that they had the people behind them, and they didn't. And then when you have such a short time, it's really hard to fix things. Like, I saw campaigns that were just 2 weeks long, and they made a mistake and they couldn't fix it in time. So milestones, you need to take this into consideration. For example, if you need to show prototypes to someone for them to review them, are you keeping the time it takes to the factory to make the prototype, send it to you, and for you to send it to this person into account when you are deciding when to launch? For example, if you decide today, okay, I'm going to launch in 2 months, and you haven't even started this process, I can assure you, you're not going to get your prototype in time, and no one is going to review it by the time you need it on the campaign. So that's why you should get everything in order before you decide the date. Again, keep shipping in mind. Shipping can be very slow. Something can go wrong. They might have issues delivering. So you need to account for that time that it takes to move packages around. And well, this is the very crucial question. Did you create enough hype? Are the numbers, are the projections looking good? Is people signing up to your bookmarks? Are they downloading your quick start? Are they joining your community? Is anybody actually expecting this? Because if you have the feeling that people are not reacting to it, that's a red flag, and then you shouldn't announce the date yet, because it means you still have some work to do. You need to ask yourself, why did you pick that length for the campaign? Is it because other people are doing that, or because you have a plan? How do you plan to fill those days? That's something that you need to be able to answer. And then the last thing is that backers at the moment on Kickstarter, they receive a reminder 48 hours and 8 hours before the end of a campaign. You need to check on which day this happens, because if it's on a weekend, it's not ideal. Sometimes you cannot avoid it, and then it's still worth all consider to run the campaign in the time frame you decided. But if you can avoid weekends for these two important reminders, then it's good, because you want people really ready to jump on board, because this is their last chance to jump on board. So make sure that these reminders don't fall on Christmas Day or some other important holidays or during a week.